Sidney Crosby toyed with the Washington Capitals in a 5-2 Pittsburgh Penguins win in Game 82 on Thursday night. And on today's episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast, Pat and I are going to recap that game, plus give you guys some quotes that came out of Locker Room Cleanout Day right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes. You can follow me on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. Joined by my co-host, Patrick Dam. You can follow him on all social media platforms at Synonym for Wet, and you can follow the show's Twitter at LO_Penguins. Of course, thank you all so much for making this your first listen/watch of the day. We are free and available on all platforms. And finally, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So, Pat, the Penguins get a season split against the Washington Capitals, even though the Caps did not look to give a crap about last night's game. They were kind of just skating in mud. I was watching Ovechkin pretty heavily at the game last night, and he was just kind of gliding around out there, not really doing too much. Same for basically every Capitals player. They were just trying to get through this game unscathed and get to the playoffs against the Montreal Canadiens starting on Monday. Again, they did not give a rat's ass about this game, and you can't really blame them, can you? But the Penguins, they took advantage of that. They beat them 5-2, and this was a really nice 60-minute effort. Does it hurt their draft lottery position? Yes. You look at the Tankathon standings today, Pat, after the regular season, Penguins have the 9th best lottery odds. So if the draft lottery comes and goes and they don't move up, Pat, they will have the number 9 pick in the NHL draft. And you look at the Rangers pick sitting at number 11. So they might have 2 top 11 picks in this year's draft if the Rangers decide to give them that pick, or they will give a unprotected 2026 first. So yes, it hurts the draft lottery position, but do not worry, people. The Penguins, they are going to get a very good prospect with this pick. And if it's someone like Victor Eklund that drops to 9, I think he instantly becomes the best prospect in the Penguin system, in my opinion. I have my top 7 all ready to go. Still sorting out some things for the rest of my top 10 and maybe some top 12, top 13, but I'm still in the lab when it comes to my Penguin-specific draft board that I will drop a bit later on in the offseason. But in terms of this actual game, I teased it at the start. Sidney Crosby was a man on a mission in this one. Congratulations to him, by the way. Another 90-point campaign, Pat. He ends the season with 91 points. He was spectacular all game long. He was, again, it was a man against boys out there for Sid. He was every single shift just making sparkling play after sparkling play. The pass that he had to get the 90th point was absolutely disgusting, man. I think you and I have watched that clip 300 times today already. It was that beautiful of a pass. And then he gets a nice goal later on in that game to get .91. He was sensational. Bryan Rust, congratulations to him. He gets his first 30-goal campaign of his career. And the way he celebrated that goal, it felt like the Penguins just won a playoff series. He was really amped about that goal. And I'm really happy for him because of the player that he has become since coming into the league. And he still had one heck of a year this year. And also, congratulations to Rickard Rakell, 70-point season for him. So we got 3 milestones last night, Pat. Almost got another. Ville Koivunen was very close to getting his first NHL goal, but you watch that one back. Pretty obvious to see why that one came off the board, because it went off his, we all saw how it went off his glove and went in the net. That one was coming back 100% of the time. But I liked the way Alex Nedeljkovic played. I liked the way all forward lines played. We'll get into Philip Tomasino a little bit later because I really liked his effort, especially in this one. And I thought for the most part, outside of one odd man rush to start the game, I thought the Penguins defended fairly well in this game too. Again, I know the Capitals, they don't really care about this game, but I still felt the Penguins played a very honest, mostly a structured game. They played with the pride. They gave the effort. And I also have to shout out the crowd at PPG Paints Arena. I know I'm going on a pretty long ramble here before, but don't worry, we're going to get to Pat's long thoughts about this game here in a second. But I loved the crowd at PPG. It low-key in a way almost felt like a playoff game. Yeah, there were a good amount of Capitals fans there, a little too many for my liking, if I'm being completely honest. But for where the Penguins were at the standings at the time, and even though it's the final game of the regular season, I loved the crowd last night. And Hey, man, last thing. I never thought I'd see the day where Alex Ovechkin gets a standing, and I mean a standing ovation at PPG Paints Arena, not to mention Ovi chants rung out from Penguins fans. I did not hear a single boo at PPG when Ovechkin got honored for breaking the goal record. Just wanted to mention that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is why I love it when Hunter cooks, because when the plate hits my table, I've got a full meal to eat. So you gave me a lot there, Hunter. So let me go back at you with some of it. Let me agree with some of it. First off, I don't know if everybody listened to yesterday's show, but thanks for listening to me, fans at PPG. Ovi deserves that. He deserves every bit of praise he's getting right now. He's a living legend, and he faced off against another living legend in Sidney Crosby. And that leads to my main point. Yeah, the Capitals didn't give a crap last night. They were playing like a team that knew this was it, and then it's off to the playoffs. This game is meaningless. But that said, no one told Alex Ovechkin that, and no one told Sidney Crosby that, because yeah, Ovi did have a couple shifts where he glided around, but that's been his entire career. He's not an all gas, no brakes kind of guy. He's very selective of where he is. But wait till next week when the playoffs start, and you're going to see Alex Ovechkin shot out of a cannon every time he touches the ice because it matters. But both Crosby and Malkin too. I thought Malkin had a solid game as well, but I meant Ovechkin there. I'm so used to saying Crosby and Malkin. Both of them played very hard, and both of them, you can now see that despite the fact that they both have a healthy respect and a budding friendship, are still the fiercest of competitors, because they both wanted to put on a show, and they both did. Crosby did the Crosby things he always does: a spinorama backhand blind pass to Bryan Rust for a goal, an absolute rocket from one knee from Sidney Crosby to get on the board, and then a classic Alex Ovechkin one-timer from his spot to get on the board. And I said it last night. I'm going to reiterate it again. I know that they are our rivals. I'm not telling you to cheer for them, but I'm telling you this: appreciate it, because we don't have that many left. These two are only going to go head to head so many more times, and there's not many of those remaining on the horizon. And last night, despite it being a meaningless game 82, they both treated the fans and the audience on ESPN to a great performance. So I thought overall, though, I mean, this is the last thing I'll talk about, because we're running a little long here on the first segment, and we're recapping a meaningless game. So we got a lot more important things to talk about today. But I saw all the discourse today about the draft position. Guys, listen, this is not a tanking rebuild. They're not bottoming out, but they're not going to be good either. And I know a lot of people are going to hear that and think, oh, mushy middle, they're never going to get out of it. That's not the case. They're going to pick in the top 10, and there's a very good chance they're going to pick twice in the top 15 if the Rangers give them the pick. So they're going to get a couple of good prospects. Are they going to be franchise changers? No, this is not a deep draft this summer, but they are going to get players who more than likely will develop into NHL talent, hopefully. But at the end of the day, where this retool is going to work, it is going to be trades. It's going to be signings. It's hopefully going to be offer sheets. So this idea that, oh, they won last night and hurt the prospects of this retooling, just pump the brakes a little bit, because there's maybe 3, maybe 4 truly NHL ready day one players in this draft. The rest of them, they're going to be projects. The question is, how long will the project last? Will it be a year, 2, maybe more? We'll have to wait and find out. But unless they were going to completely bottom out, which when you have some of the names that they have on their roster, was never going to happen. So yeah, it stinks that it's not going to be a higher pick, and they might luck out to one of the teams near the top trying to galaxy brain it and leaving a really good player available. But at the end of the day, we are fully in an era with this retool where they, whether you like it or not, are going to go with quantity and not quality. And as we've seen, with a lot of these rebuilds, the teams that shoot for pure quality, that go for, they want that first to third overall pick, and that's all they're doing, it's a very risky proposition. But if you've got 2 to 3 picks, 3 to 4 prospects, a couple reclamation projects, odds are in your favor that a few of them will turn into NHL talent, rather than putting all of your eggs, because it is Easter weekend, in one basket on one player. So I know it sucks, but it's going to be all right. They were never going to get the first overall pick. So just let's pump the brakes on that one.
I will also say this: if they do get one of O'Brien or Eklund, and one of those players falls to number 9, you will see a lot of those takes disappear fairly quickly, because I do think those two are 2 of the 10 best players in this year's draft. And I do think either one of those players instantly becomes the best prospect in this system. And heck, say they're both there at 9 and 11. If the Rangers decide to give the Penguins the pick, there is a reality where maybe you get both of them, or maybe you get one of them and you get someone like a Ben Kindle, who I'm also really high on. I have him right outside my top 10 right now, if I had to say it as of now, but I might squeeze them into my top 10 once I'm done with my full rankings. Like, they're going to get, if they keep that Rangers pick, by the way, after the Rangers give it to them, they will get another very good prospect. Like, I trust Wes Clark quite a bit, because he is one of the top scouts in the NHL, in my opinion. Like, he has known what he has been doing in Toronto for a long time. He's been Dubas's right-hand man there. And I trust him with the way that he has been able to scout throughout his career in an NHL front office. So again, people are going to say like, oh yeah, it's disappointing they didn't get top 5 because, Sid went off and they got goaltending from Tristan Jarry. I get it to an extent, but it's also like, people, they're professional athletes. They're not going to tank. Personally, I thought it rocked seeing Ville Koivunen and Rutger McGroarty prove that they belonged here down the stretch. And at the end of the day, they are more than likely, again, if they don't move up or down in the lottery, they are going to get a top 10 pick. They have not gotten a top 10 pick in the draft, Pat, for a very long time. So this is still going to be a net win. It's just funny that it was an obvious rebuilding year, but there were still so many teams that were worse than the Penguins this year. So even, again, like the Boston Bruins, they threw in the towel completely after the deadline. I didn't see them losing 10 in a row. Did you? Again, sometimes so much of this stuff is very unpredictable. So yeah, they're still going to get a very good prospect or two in the draft this year. It's not one of the big 4, but it's still going to be a player that won't be ready this year, but could be ready a year or 2, maybe 3 years down the line, something like that. One more thing I wanted to discuss. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to save that for the second segment, because we are definitely running a little bit long here. That'll do it for the first segment. Coming up in the second segment, we're going to discuss Ville Koivunen and how he had another really good game last night, as well as Philip Tomasino and how he really needed that game against the Washington Capitals. And we'll discuss a couple of the big quotes that came out of locker room cleanout day. I thought Kyle Dubas was going to talk today, but I guess that's something probably saved for next week, the week after, something like that. But before we get to that, we have to tell you all about our first sponsor of the day, and that is Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you are ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 to even Fortnite as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto low latency mode advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. And with 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and so much more. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV Stick 4K device is more affordable and easy to travel with, allowing you to take your games wherever you plug in. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controllers required. It's available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K second generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max first and second generation, and Fire TV Cube third generation. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes, joined by my co-host, Patrick Damp. And Pat, I did want to start off this segment by saying how great Ville Koivunen played once again last night. 7 points in 8 games after coming up from Wilkes-Barre. He was reassigned to Wilkes-Barre along with a handful of other players, including Philip Kral, Valtteri Puustinen, Joona Koppanen, to go and help Wilkes-Barre end the regular season and hopefully go on a deep playoff run. It'll be really nice for Wilkes-Barre to have Koivunen back after seeing the success that he had with the Penguins at the NHL level. And again, 7 points in 8 games, 5-game point streak. His 7 points are the most by a Penguin in his first 8 games since who, Pat? Jake Guentzel in 2016, 2017. Certainly good company. It is funny, when I was watching him on the bench last night, just with the way he was looking, I sent you this text today. He looks like Bugs Bunny. He really does. Just a little bit with his teeth sticking out. If you compare it to the Bugs Bunny picture, it's a little similar. But going back to his actual play, he continues to be so silky with the puck on his stick. I really like that Mike Sullivan is utilizing him to his strengths, especially on the top power play. Having someone like that right around the net front area as a pure playmaker makes all the sense in the world. His underlying numbers for the 8 games were especially superb. He was a great fit with both Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. To me, he has proven that he is ready for the NHL. Very small sample, yes, but I think if you keep utilizing him in these areas next season, you are going to see a pretty productive player in this league. I'm not going to sit here, Pat, and say he's going to be the next Jake Guentzel. That would be a bit ludicrous of me to say that. But I think he can be someone that scores double-digit goals, maybe 40 to 45 plus points at some point in his career. Again, something like that. I don't want to put too high of expectations out there because, again, it's only 8 games, but he has more than proven to me that he is ready for the league. If I had to make a small comparison, and I'm not comparing the 2 players, people, but with the way he is as a playmaker, it's like a Dollar Tree version of Kirill Kaprizov with Minnesota, just with that aspect. Again, Kirill Kaprizov is one of the best players in the league. Pure play driver, by the way. He's especially elite at 5-on-5. But when I watch Kaprizov, his playmaking ability with the puck on his stick, I see it a little bit with Ville Koivunen. Again, just a little bit. But I really liked his game last night, and he should be on this team next year as far as I'm concerned.
He absolutely should be. It was a small sample size, only a handful of games, but you can see the building blocks there for a productive NHL forward moving forward. He's got the vision. You saw it in every game he played. He was making passes that you don't usually see from a rookie, and he fit really nicely, like you said, with both Crosby and Malkin. And it wasn't just because he deferred to them. He knew when to make the plays he needed to make, whether it was passes, whether it was getting to an open spot. And hopefully when he returns to the NHL next season, the curse is lifted because the kid could not buy a goal. It was very similar to his counterpart in the AHL, Rutger McGroarty, early on. When McGroarty was early on in the AHL, doing everything right, playing extremely well, but the puck just wouldn't go in for whatever reason, whether it was someone flubbing a pass or him hitting a post or the goalie making a great save. Koivunen had chance after chance after chance in his 8 games, including last night. He rang one off the post, and then he has the goal taken away that, right, let's be honest, he tried to punch it into the net, and you can't do that. But at the end of the day, the kid's got the vision. He's got the foot speed. He does look like he is going to be a fit in the Penguins' top 6. So he has done more than enough for me to say if he has a good training camp, don't worry about going back to Wilkes-Barre, kid. You're on this team.
100%. And I think Rutger McGroarty, before he got hurt, also showed that he is ready for the NHL at this rate. The biggest thing is they're 2 completely different players. Koivunen, to me, much more of a playmaker, more silky with the puck on his stick. He's more of a distributor. McGroarty, he's really good around the net front, has a better release, really good along the boards, really good below the dots. They're just 2 completely different prospects, and that's totally fine. I want 2 different prospects like that with 2 different play styles in the top 6 to help Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, because it's only going to make them better for next seasons. But I'm really excited for both of these kids, but especially for Koivunen's case, he more than proved that he belonged in. as our good friend Jesse Marshall said on Twitter, did not take that long to figure that out, my friend. But also, Philip Tomasino. Felt like before the injury, he was struggling a little bit, wasn't as engaged, just wasn't getting a lot of chances with the puck on his stick, wasn't playing well in all three zones. But last night, that all changed. I felt he was tremendous last night, was very engaged, had the really nice goal. He had that really nice pass as well that led to Sidney Crosby's goal, if I may add, Pat. So I really liked his game last night. It's exactly what the doctor ordered for him because he's going into a big contract year, RFA. He needed this one to continue to show management that, hey, I deserve a spot on this team next season.
The thing I think we kind of, and I mean both you and I, as well as the rest of the fan base, kind of forgot about Philip Tomasino. And shout out to the ESPN broadcast last night. I thought it was very good. I thought they did a very good job, especially for a game that we all knew was meaningless. But they said this on the broadcast, and it's something I, again, think we all forgot about. He's 23.
Right.
He still is very young. There is a lot of raw talent there, and there is a ton of potential there. And I think the biggest difference right before the injury and then right after for him when he came back is right before he got hurt and then right after he returned, he was playing, I don't want to say a timid game, but he kind of lost for a bit there the decisiveness in his game. And you saw that the last week. The decisiveness came back. He was making the right decisions and making them quickly. There was no hesitation. When he had open shooting lanes, he took them. When he saw a chance to make a good pass, he made them. And once he finds that level of consistency, I think he'll be a very productive middle six forward. He'll have the ability to fill in on the first line when you need him, but I look at his ceiling as productive third or second liner who's going to chip in double-digit points, and that really is a pretty solid expectation for a kid that talented. He's not a superstar. He's not going to turn into the next great winger, but will he have a chance to be on the second line consistently? Absolutely. And as long as that consistency shows up and he plays a decisive game like he did last night, I think Kyle Dubas has found himself a pretty solid building block for the future of the Penguins.
And I don't think he's going to cost that much during the offseason. You can sign him to a bridge type deal if you want to. And I also could be curious to see if Mike Sullivan wants to put him with Tommy Novak next season. Again, really stunk that we really didn't get any of Tommy Novak after he was acquired in the Michael Bunting trade. But I'm excited to see what those two could do together if we do get that to start the 2025-2026 season. Last, but certainly not least, we have to discuss a couple quotes that came out of the locker room today, starting, Pat, with Erik Karlsson. He told Wes Crosby that his desire to win the cup has not changed. He was frustrated late in the season because obviously being in the spot the Penguins were in, he doesn't want to be in that. He said it's a business, but he knows that things could be a bit uncertain. He also did say, been through this before. I realize the magnitude of it. At the end of the day, it is a business. Whatever will happen, will happen. But all I can say is I've enjoyed my time here. I've enjoyed it on a personal level. Me and my family really want it to work here. So again, I kind of put the hashtag, he gone, because it certainly seemed like the first part of that quote to me felt like, okay, it feels like this could be the writing on the wall. But then, you see that follow-up quote where Karlsson does want it to work here. He wants to play with Sidney Crosby. He wants to play with Evgeny Malkin. He wants to play with Chris Letang. And I get, those are also surefire Hall of Famers. And at times it's certainly been fun watching Erik Karlsson, but I definitely get the reason why they are probably going to look to move him this offseason. If I had to say right now, will he be on this team to start next season? I would probably say no. I would probably say that Kyle Dubas is going to look to move him, and there will be suitors out there that will look to acquire him, especially with the cap going up. And I think the Penguins could do definitely okay with their return. I don't think they're going to get a massive haul or anything like that, but I don't think they're just going to give him away for pennies on the dollar.
I look at it this way. I lean with you. I lean towards no. He won't be on the Penguins next season. But I see two paths here, and I think both of them are okay to go down. I think the preferable one is obviously to try to get most of that cap hit off of the books. You're going to have to retain something to get him to move just because how big of a contract it is against the salary cap. But I think that would probably be the preferable way. You get some assets for them, you get the cap relief, and that's something that the Penguins need. I wouldn't say sorely because they have a ton of space, but you're never going to say no to more salary cap space to give you more flexibility to operate. The other one I look at, it goes back to something I talked about earlier this week on the show while you were away. They are going to have to make a lot of tough decisions on defense, and not just because this team struggled on defense, but because it is a thin group, especially on the left side.
They do not have a single player that can play top pairing minutes on the left side right now. One of the biggest needs this offseason, I will keep saying it until I'm blue in the face, is they need a number one legitimate left-handed defenseman this offseason. Until they get that, like, I don't know what we're doing here. They're going to have to probably remake over half of this blue line, Pat. Like, that's the thing. And also, you move Karlsson, I get it. I definitely do. But if you move him, good luck finding who is going to drive the offense from the back end, at least. I love Chris Letang as much as anyone. He can't do that anymore. And I know some people are going to say Harrison Brunick. I like Harrison Brunick quite a bit. It is unfair to place those expectations on him.
Absolutely. And so I look at the other path, which is you hold on to him. But what I think you have to do this summer, and it's a very tough needle to thread, which is why I lean towards I think they're going to move him, is you're going to have to sign someone or trade for someone to pair with him. And I'm going to put this marker down now. It's somebody we're not going to like, because it is going to have to be the most boring, bland, defensively accountable defenseman, because you have to give Erik Karlsson room to cook. You have to give him room to run. And part of the reason it hasn't worked out in Pittsburgh, you can make all the grand declarations you want about Erik Karlsson, the player, so on and so forth, but he is at his best when he is essentially a fourth forward, and you have a defenseman with him who can make up for those mistakes they're inevitably going to be made, because he is going to be playing very aggressively. That is kind of the counterbalance to why it didn't work in Pittsburgh, is there has not been a defenseman in the system, or that they've gone out and gotten, who can just hang back and say, go get him, Erik. And we saw it happen at Four Nations. We saw it happen when he was with Ottawa. We saw it happen for a little bit when he was with San Jose. The reason it worked so well was because he had that defensive partner who just sat back. They have not gotten one for him. It's kind of a package deal when you get Erik Karlsson. So that is going to be a very difficult thing to do, which is why I lean towards you have to move him, because there really isn't anybody around that can play that role for him. And it's not so much an indictment on him. It's an indictment on, you went out and got this guy, but you didn't get the necessary depth around him to make it work.
They were doing it at times with Marcus Pettersson, and it felt like that was a good partnership. But then Pettersson, he was kind of going down a little bit this year with his level of play. I guess it felt like the pairing last season was better than it was this season, at least eye test wise. I'm going to dive into the numbers probably a bit more next week, because we're ending season 6 of the pod today, believe it or not. But I agree with you with that extent. You saw it at the Four Nations. He had the perfect partner, whether it was someone like a Mattias Ekholm, for example. He was great next to Karlsson at the Four Nations, and he allowed Karlsson to do his thing. Problem is, Pat, a player like Mattias Ekholm does not grow on a tree. And you look at the free agent class this offseason, it is, well, one word I could use, but I don't want to cuss on this show. It's a pile of crap is what it is. A lot of the free agent class for defensemen this year is a pile of crap, at least UFA wise. So I agree. I'm leaning towards that they will move him, but I still look back at that acquisition. I make that move every single time. You got rid of bad contracts. You took a swing. I will always respect that. It doesn't matter who the GM is. I will always respect the Penguins, or Kyle Dubas in this case, doing that. Also, Mike Sullivan confirmed his commitment to the Penguins, saying, like, yes, I am the head coach. I'm not going anywhere. So those rumors can be nipped in the bud. And then there was also this quote, Pat, that I sent to you today that I believe Josh Getzov had this. And this was Sullivan saying, the glaring issue with our team is on the defensive side. That starts with an attitude and a consistency game in and game out. I thought we showed moments where we were capable of defending, but we lacked consistency in that regard. We need to defend and keep the puck out of our net. I wonder where they're going to focus on some of their needs this offseason, Pat.
Sounds like defense, and it sounds like what we were just talking about.
100%. Again, people, I'll say it another time for you guys on this show. They do not have a single player that can play top pairing minutes on the left side. And that is one of their biggest needs for this offseason. Even though I don't think they're going to make the playoffs next season, I think they want to get back to contention the year after that, or at least to a playoff spot the year after that. You need a bona fide top pairing left-handed defenseman on this team. And they do not have that player right now. I like Owen Pickering, but I think at best for next season, he's probably a second pair guy. You're not going to put him on the top pair. Ryan Shea, he's okay. He's a number 7. Ryan Graves, we've all seen what he has been for 2 years. I would not bring him back. I would do everything in my power to get him off this team. Matt Grzelcyk, he was good on the power play, but at 5-on-5 wasn't that good. They need to remake that entire left side. And then on the right side, if you move Karlsson, you need to find a replacement. You have Connor Timmins. I would bring him back. Chris Letang, we all know he's going to be back, but I still get a bit scared about him playing top pairing minutes after the way his game fell off a little bit this year, especially with his skating, man. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming to the Penguins blue line, people, and it may not take one offseason to fix, my friend. This might be a multiple offseason type of thing where they're really reshaping this blue line here. But I think that'll do it for this second segment. Unless you have anything else to add that you saw during locker room cleanout day. Well, I guess Pat has nothing to add about that, but that'll do it again for this second segment. Coming up to end the show, it's playoff time, people. So that means Pat and I are going to give you guys our playoff picks for the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs that start on Saturday. But before we get to that, we have to tell you all about our first sponsor, well, not our first sponsor, our second sponsor, and that is Game Time. The Stanley Cup Playoffs are here, and if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, it is unlike anything else. The intensity, the speed, the energy in the building, it's next level. And thanks to Game Time, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Game Time is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as puck drop gets closer, and with last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off. Here's what I love about Game Time. Priority last-minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. They're all in pricing, shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. The app even shows you panoramic seat views so you know exactly what you're getting before you buy. And with Game Time ticket coverage, I know I am protected, whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, we're back here on this episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Hunter Hodes, joined by my co-host, Patrick Damn Pat. We've already gone pretty long today. We're at 33 minutes right now, so we got to make our playoff picks in rapid fire succession here. So I will start. I did make my picks on the national show on Thursday with my good friend and co-host, Nick Zerars, and if you did not listen to that, well, I'm going to make those picks here for you guys. To start off, Washington, Montreal, I will take the Capitals in 6 games, but I think the Habs are going to give them a bigger fight than some think. The Bell Center is going to be rocking for games 3 and 4. Lane Hutson has been awesome to watch all year. The Canadians, they are all gas, no brakes, all offense, very little defense. It is going to make for a very entertaining series, but I will take Washington to win that. The Battle of Florida, I am going to go Tampa Bay in 7. I know it looks like Tkachuk is going to come back for Florida. That is absolutely massive for them. This has been a big brother, little brother rivalry for a little bit, right? You had big brother to start, little brother punched back and had a big growth spurt, and now they're the same height, and now they're going at it. I will take Tampa in 7 hard-fought games in that series. Carolina, New Jersey, I am too concerned with the Devils. No Jack Hughes. They did get Dougie Hamilton back, but without Hughes, I think it's going to be too much for them to overcome. I will take the Hurricanes in 6. And then Battle of Ontario to end the East here. I will say it, Pat. I will take the Toronto Maple Leafs to win this series and get to the second round. I will take them to win it in 6. I think with the way the Leafs have defended this year under Berube, I think they will do enough to shut down some of the Ottawa Senators' big stars. I think they will continue to get good goaltending, and I think William Nylander is especially going to have a big first round for Toronto. So those are my picks for the East. What say you, my friend?
What a beautiful weekend for your boy here. Not only did the Stanley Cup playoffs start, but it is WrestleMania weekend. So I am not leaving the couch this weekend, my friend. It's going to be fantastic. But let's go through these. So let's start where you ended. I'm with you on Toronto, Ottawa. I got to give the Leafs the win here. Same amount of games. I think Ottawa is on their way. I think that's a very good team with a lot of very young talent that is starting to come into their own. But the Leafs have been a bit of a bit more mature team this year. They're better defensively. I think they can outlast the Senators in this one. Battle of Florida, same deal. 7 games for Tampa Bay. They are getting hot at the right time, and they have Andrei Vasilevsky, who is once again showing the world that, yeah, I am the best goalie around, and good luck beating me. Washington, Montreal, I think it's going to be 5. But I think it's going to be a very sneaky 5 for Washington. It's going to be a scary 5. Montreal is going to give them all they can handle, but I just think Washington's the overall better team. Very similar to Ottawa, though. Very good young team, up and coming. Don't sleep on Montreal for the next few years. They're going to be back. So it's going to be a nice learning experience for the Canadiens against the Capitals. And then, again, I eventually want to see this New Jersey team go into the playoffs healthy and see what they can do, because it's a talented team, but the injuries are going to be too much for them to overcome. Give me Carolina in 6.
Moving on to the West, because we got to keep going in rapid fire here. I will take the Winnipeg Jets in 6 games over the St. Louis Blues. It is time for Connor Hellebuyck to answer the call in the playoffs. You want to say that you're the best goaltender in the world? Let's go prove it in the playoffs, my friend. He was once again dynamite for the Jets in the regular season. I thought he was great in the Four Nations face-off. Answer the call in the playoffs. The Winnipeg whiteout is one of my favorite playoff traditions. It is going to be rocking in Winnipeg this weekend. I can't wait to watch that game. And I know St. Louis is the hottest team in the league going into the playoffs. Robert Thomas has especially been great since March 1st. He's been one of the top 5 players in points since that time. Buchnevich has been great. The Dylan Holloway injury, though, is a bit scary. I know Jordan Binnington can get hot in the playoffs, but the Holloway injury really scares me. I think the Jets are going to be too much for the Blues. I will take Winnipeg in 6. Dallas, Colorado, the Mikko Rantanen revenge storyline is very much there. I was very much considering taking the Stars until the injury situation. Miro Heiskanen, he's banged up. We're not sure if he's playing in this series. And Jason Robertson was just announced today that he is week to week. He's not playing game 1. I will take the Avalanche, though, in 7 games. And it looks like Gabe Landeskog, Jared Bednar said today, the Avalanche head coach, that he is an option in this series. I would expect Gabe Landeskog to be back at some point. I will take the Avs. Vegas, Minnesota, give me Vegas in 5. I said it on the Thursday show with Nick. Going up against Jack Eichel in a 7-game series is like dealing with a boa constrictor, with the way that Eichel can just suffocate you to death. I think Vegas is going to be way too much for Minnesota to handle. Eichel is having another outstanding year. Mark Stone is a psychopath in the playoffs. They have Pietrangelo. They got Shea Theodore. Bruce Cassidy is one of the 5 best coaches in the league. I think Vegas has a great shot at winning the West this year. Give me Vegas in 5. Finally, Edmonton, LA. This is LA's best shot. Edmonton is very banged up heading into the playoffs. But when it comes down to it, one team has Connor and Leon. The other doesn't. I understand the Kings have gotten really good goaltending this year. You can make an argument that Darcy Kemper should be a Vezina finalist. He has been that good for the Kings. I also understand that they have had great home ice this season, and they play very stingy in their own zone. They have been one of the best defensive teams all year. You can only shut those two down, though, however, for so long, Connor and Leon, before they take over a series. And I think in the end, they're going to prove that they're still that good that they can carry the Oilers into the second round. Give me the Oilers in a coin flip, 7 games.
Same as the East. I'm going to start where you ended, and it wouldn't be a playoff prediction episode on Locked On Penguins if old Patty Damp didn't come out with a hot take. Edmonton, LA, Give me LA in 6. I think that the injuries to Edmonton are going to be too much, and the biggest one is the loss of Ekholm.
Yeah,
that is your bell cow on defense, and I don't think Edmonton has a good enough defense to fully make up for that. And LA plays a great stingy defensive game that is what it's going to come down to. And it's not a knock on the Oilers. They have to be healthy. They have to have that Ekholm presence, and they don't. So give me LA in 6. Vegas, Minnesota. Got to go Vegas here. I'm going to take them in 6. I think Minnesota is on the cusp of something really good here. They're going to get a bunch of salary cap relief this summer. They're going to get the players locked up. They need to get locked up. And I think they're going to make a couple surprising moves, and they're going to be right back in the mix, just not yet. And Vegas is that good. So give me Vegas in 6. Dallas, Colorado, same as you. I want to take Dallas. I really do, because I like that team a lot. But the injury situation is going to be way too much for them to overcome. And Colorado just seems like a team possessed at this point. I don't know if it's good enough to carry them through the whole Western Conference playoff, but it's definitely going to carry them through the first round in the West. Give me them in 6 games. And then Winnipeg, St. Louis. I love the story. Shout out to our friend Haley Taylor Simon on Locked On Blues, but it's just going to be too much for them to handle in Winnipeg. And as good as they've been down the stretch, I don't think that they're a good enough offensive team to counter the Connor Hellebuck factor. Give me the Winnipeg Jets in 6 games.
All very fair picks. I will say, I'll be curious to see if you're right about LA. I think this is, if there's one year to take down the Oilers, this is the year to do it. I just don't know, man. When Connor and Leon get going, good luck stopping them. 2 of the 5 best players in the world. And I mean, for me, McDavid is the best player on the planet. But that will do it for today's episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I know we went a little bit long. We just had a lot to talk about. And also, that'll do it for officially season 6 of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Season 2 for Patrick Damp, of course. But 6 seasons in the belt now. Just absolutely crazy that the show continues to grow like this. And we can't thank you guys enough. We are so proud of the community that we have built here, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever else, whether you're watching on YouTube, Roku TV. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making us part of your daily routine, whether it's a few episodes, 10, 50, over 1,000. If you've listened to over 1,000 episodes of this pod, you're a sicko, by the way, because I don't sound anything like I used to today, at least. But from the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys so much. Don't worry, though. We're not going anywhere. We're still in off-season mode. We'll be doing 5 shows a week starting next week all the way until early July, and then we'll scale the show down to 3 episodes a week during the full off-season when it gets really, and I mean really dead. But again, that'll do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back with another episode for you all on Monday.